Hello, I'm ToycatA, and welcome back to an episode of the Minecraft Bedrock Updated Adventures Let's Play. This is the weekly update as to what's been going on, both with my survival world, as well as life of the universe, and everything in between. And today I wanted to work on a part of the survival world, which I literally haven't worked on in years and years and years, but I think I can make a really good addition to, thanks to the Nether update. I know we're all very focused on 1.17, I mean it's the updated adventures, it'd be weird if we weren't, but there are a lot of Nether update features that I still haven't fully utilised, and one of them are the brand new warp fungi and the crimson fungi. I feel like, they're two new types of mushrooms. They make types of trees that would fit in really well in this kind of enchanted forest area, as I like to call it. However, getting your hands on a bunch of those, let's say 10 or 12 plus, let's say I want a snack of each, can be really hard, and that's why I want to make a machine that can allow me to get a lot of those warp, fungi, a lot of those crimson fungi, as well as just being fun machines to make. So today, we're making what is technically automated redstone. That's right, you hear that? The Nether update has done weird things to me. It's making me make different types of builds altogether, and today I'm looking forward to doing that. So my build is going to require a lot of redstone. Actually, by a lot, I mean like 16 bits of redstone, and then I think a couple of redstone torches to make a repeater out of, or two. Actually, I think I need like multiple repeaters. So, it's going to require some redstone, as well as, of course, some pistons. But first, we've got to go on a little bit of a Nether adventure. So the Nether is something which we've been working on a whole bunch. Maybe you've worked that out by now. We've built a lot of fun Nether update things, I think. But something that we need to do is we need to get a lot of the warp nilium, as well as the regular nilium. And as you can see, I've got myself some 6 of these, and I've got myself 3 of these. I need to get a lot more of these. These are resources that I have tried this. In fact, you can't get any way other than natural generation, which is super interesting, especially if, like me, you generated most of your Nether prior to the Nether update. It means that you have to fly or travel or whatever you want to do for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of blocks. Fortunately for me, I know where the nearest biome is, but if you're in a normal world, it actually can be kind of tricky, in my opinion at least, to get yourself, to get your hands on the number of blocks that you're actually going to need to make this work. So that's going to be the biggest first step in this one for us. We're going to go find a crimson forest, and we're going to go find a warp forest. If you don't already have these things, the easiest technique, in my opinion, there's lots of techniques people like to use for this stuff. I find just going in a straight line for as long as you can will eventually find you access to one of those things each, and then later on, if you want to find a closer access to, say, a crimson forest or a warp one, then it's a good idea to do that. If you're like me, however, having access to... it always feels weird to me that you have to use a pickaxe for these blocks. It really feels like you should be able to shovel it up, right? And, I mean, I guess that's not a thing the game wants you to do. It just feels like, because it's kind of like dirty, that you can do that. But no, it's not. It's not as dirty as we think, because instead we're going to use a silk touch pickaxe just like this, and we're going to instantly silk touch them up, not from this biome over here, but from a biome where we can find both of them, which means, again, lots of flying. I should check my elytra. It's all good to go. I've made that mistake enough times that I like to check up on it. And yeah, let's go find a warp forest. And wow, look at that. It looks like the power of editing all of a sudden makes it look like we just appeared here, despite the fact that that's not true in the slightest. But YouTube videos, that's okay. We can say what it needs to be. Anyway, so I'm here to pick up a bunch of these warp nilium, and I feel like if we're gonna grab blocks from a biome, this is one of my kind of feelings always, and it's why I do so many weird projects. If I'm gonna be grabbing a lot of resources from a biome, like say warp nilium from a warp forest, as well as crimson nilium from crimson forest, I kind of want to do so in a way that makes an impact on the world. Like, sure, we could do so entirely at random, make like just a big line going through here. Like, yeah, let's have a line of not warp nilium in the warp forest. That would look interesting. Sure, you can do basic stuff like that, but I also feel like, let's have an area between these two forests that is technically part of the biome, but also isn't, that also just has netherrack on the ground right here, because it's kind of interesting to see, like, again, it feels off. It feels like you should only have these 2 floor blocks, but yeah, it's not there at all. I don't know, it's interesting to me at least, and that's why I'm going to be grabbing a lot of these blocks. I want at least a snack of each. I don't know for sure how much, and then we can kind of take it with us. And yeah, this kind of, this thing about Minecraft that I've always found to be interesting, it's kind of like, you can call it sustainability if you want, but I like the idea of, like, in Minecraft, there's always blocks that you need to move from one place to another. We are all just Endermen that can work on a much faster basis than these guys obviously can. We're all just moving blocks around the world. That's what makes the beauty, or if you're in my world, the ugly atrocities that should be considered a war crime under the Geneva Convention. But, like, the things that makes the beauties and the uglies in the Minecraft world, it's all just, oh yeah, that was not smart of me to do, huh? It's interesting why there's so many Endermen around here. But the beauties and the atrocities are all just you moving Minecraft blocks around in particularly interesting ways, like sometimes you have a vision for where you want those Minecraft blocks to be that's better than the game developers themselves can have. There we go. No, not there we go. Every time I'm just about ready to be done with the Enderman, they're like, you know what? I'm ready to attack again. One of Minecraft's most annoying mobs, by the way. But yeah, so you know, that's what Minecraft's all about, and that's why I like to kind of take advantage of both ends of it. Oh my god, this that one walked in front of me. I feel like that should not count as me angering an Enderman. Also, I feel like the piglins should be attacking the Enderman, but that's fine. I guess you've got other things to do, huh? So we'll just fly away from here. You know, it's fine. I can fly. We're in a realm, so electrifying is really, really dangerous, by the way. Just something to be cautious of. But yeah, so it's one of the things I've always found to be beautiful is that you're really just moving stuff around like an Enderman on a much, much faster scale. And that's why by the end of today's video, I'll have something that hopefully you want to move blocks around. Hopefully I'll move you to move blocks, am I right? There we go. That's all I'm really doing in my YouTube videos. I'm just Enderman moving players around, trying to get them to play stuff. Side note, I've had this idea for a little while, and my assistant came up with recently. Let me know what you think, because you know it's all just us here, you know, just the friendos together. But an idea I've had for a while, because as I just said there, like, oh yeah, Enderman, worst mob ever. Wouldn't it be interesting to rate every single Minecraft mob ever, like top to bottom, worst to best? You know, like we all know like that Phantom comes close to the bottom of the list, and we all know that like, I don't know, Dolphin is somewhere in the middle. Like, who has strong opinions about the Dolphin? I'll give you a clue. No one has strong opinions about the Dolphin, because that's not a thing that is possible to do. But you know, like you get the point, right? That there are lots of you know, like that. I feel like it'd be very fun to have a list of those. Do you think that'd be fun, or do you think like that's just like almost click farming? Even though it's like 56 mobs we have to order, because I hate ideas that take a lot of effort but seem like they're really a lot of effort. Like one of the things that I find interesting about Minecraft is sometimes you can spend hours doing something to make it look like you didn't do anything at all. And sometimes I do that, and you know, I sometimes regret it when people are just like, you know what, ToycatA, you could have just not. And it's like, you know, maybe they're right. When people you know, like doubt you start to doubt yourself sometimes too, right? And you're like, you know, they've got a pretty good point. Why did I? This is pretty ridiculous, this thing that I just did. Why did I do it again? Did I even have a reason? Or you know, also I'm being very careful not to mine any Netherrack. I don't have an even particularly good reason. I just want to leave it like one there below. Because again, I'm spending too much effort to do something that no one will ever realize I spent effort doing. It's kind of like the eternal curse of people who do like you know, effects for movies. Their whole job is to make it look like they didn't do a job. Their effects are, you know, there to make it look like, you know, the thing just happened, that they really did the thing. One of the like 3D effects people, his name is I think it's the credit, but his name is Freddie Wong. He made Video Game High School. There we go. I think that's way more famous than his YouTube channel is these days, right? But you know, like his whole thing was like, oh yeah, I once spent like an extra month working on a project. You know, obviously it was paid, but the whole point of the project was some set designers left a, you know, a cable on the set, and we had to edit out of every single shot individually, hand by hand. And he's like, yeah, that's not fun working on someone else's vision, but not even just someone else's vision, someone else's mess up you have to fix. And you know, that is literally a case of like, yeah, you spend a month doing something, no one's ever going to be like, wow, do you ever notice how in Game of Thrones there isn't a coffee cup in most of the scenes? Like, because if you don't know Game of Thrones last season, there was a coffee cup in that appeared. I think it was literally a Starbucks cup that appeared in one of the scenes, and everyone was like, "Wow, that's kind of crazy." You don't notice the 99.9% of the time there aren't Starbucks cups in medieval or futuristic shows. You know, you don't notice 99% of the time when my microphone isn't different, but you notice right now, like, yeah. Why does it sound so different, ToycatA? What's the deal with that? And it's very interesting. But anyway, let's give you an update as to what's been going on in the ToycatA life in the past week. Because yeah, I've been in America now for exactly actually I think it's a week and a half as of this kind of life. So I've been in America for a week. It's very exciting to me. But something interesting. I'm going to be here for another 2 months as of the 17th, if you're very curious. So I think that is literally like three or 4 days from now. So I've got, I'm here for another 2 months. And one of the things that's super uncomfortable to happen this early on, it's super uncomfortable to have any interaction like this, and it's just a reminder about like human interactions be kind of crazy. So I'm living in an apartment for the first time, like by actually I lived in a maisonette before, which is like 2 apartments that kind of share a building. But I'm living in like my first ever proper purpose-built apartment block, right? I'm living in a place that can be described as an apartment. I think actually in America you call them condo. I don't know why this is a condo and not an apartment, but I'm living in either a condo or an apartment. For some reason everyone calls it a condo. I think condo has like a nice attached to it. So people always like, I've had so many people try to explain the difference, but every time I've looked it up, it's like, that's not actually true. It's just, like people think there's a lot of things that define the difference, but I think it's like apartment and flat in the UK, where just like, well, you don't want to be seen as living in no one buys a flat, you buy in an apartment, whereas you rent a flat. So I think it's like, oh yeah, you rent an apartment as part of the building, whereas a condo is like a thing you buy. No, there's no actual difference, it's just what you say colloquially. Apparently, maybe I'm wrong about that even still. That's the cool thing about the internet being wrong. But I'm living in an apartment for the first time, and I thought it would be an exciting time. It's kind of cool. There's like, for some, you pay, it's called HOA fees in America, homeowners association fees, but in exchange for those fees, you get access to a pool. That's kind of cool to me. I don't really swim. I literally, I basically can't swim. Like they stopped having swimming lessons in the UK, like as I was learning to, and as a result, I don't really understand. I've wanted to learn swim a few times, never gone too well. But so anyway, I have access to a pool. It's great. But also, I now have a downstairs neighbor and an upstairs neighbor. Something that's very new to me. Like this isn't what I'm used to. I don't have. I've never had neighbors that I share a floor and a ceiling with. If you don't know, I live in a house where I have I think actually I have 2 neighbors to my house, one on the left, one on the right. One of them is dead, I think. So in the UK, I have one neighbor. And that neighbor's changed a few times. And even that one neighbor, like, sometimes they're super loud. Like, I don't think they're holding parties. They just have really weird music tendencies. Like, this story is going so off the rails, but welcome to the Updated Ventures. Sometimes I can tell a continuous story without getting sidetracked. But my neighbors, the way they listen to music, I don't know why I find this to be so sociopathic, but they listen to one song crazy loudly, like, Eminem's, the song that's memed on the internet and goes, Mom Spaghetti. I think it's Lose Yourself, right? It's like, oh yeah, something, Mom Spaghetti, there's a t-shirt on my muffin already. I don't know what's going on with that song. Anyway, so they'll play the song, and then there'll be a 20-minute gap, and then they'll play another song super loudly, and it's like, what are you doing here? What, like, it is literal silence, or like they're probably talking to each other and I just can't hear it. But it's like, why are you doing that? That's how they have parties. I've got very confusing neighbors. But that's the worst I ever deal with. Sometimes I can hear them talking, and I was kind of worried, like, oh, I've now got 4 neighbors, 1 to above, 1 below, 1 to the left, and 1 to the right of me, as well as theoretically, like, across the way, there's another apartment building. Like, I don't expect them to be loud. But basically, I have like 4 plus neighbors right now, plus lots of other neighbors very close together. Apartments are smaller than houses, although my house is pretty small. I think this apartment might be not too much bigger. But anyway, my point with all of this is meant to just be, hey, I'm living in an apartment building. I have a lot of neighbors. I was worried about the noise, and I was also mildly worried, like, oh, I make YouTube videos. I don't know. Have you guys heard about that? Is this a cool thing that I do sometimes? I make YouTube videos sometimes, and I was really worried, like, oh no, what if those, like videos and annoying the neighbors? That's one of my worst nightmares, is annoying a neighbor because I'm talking kind of loudly. Like, this is. It's like a conversation, but I'm projecting my voice a bit more, so it's a loud conversation. I was really worried, like, oh no, what if my neighbors, one of them, doesn't matter which, what if they really, don't like that? What if they can hear it and it's super loud? Oh Lord, how am I messing up so often? Okay, okay, we're fine. I'm alive. We're good. I had the totem anyway, but. And anyway, that's how I would feel if I was, again, because I generally am a big believer in try not to annoy people if you probably don't have to, right? That's my controversial take. I'm just gonna get up to the, I thought that would get me up to level 33 because I want to like do a couple of enchantments, but apparently the game gives no cares about all the gold that I just mined. But anyway, so that's a big fear of mine, being an annoying neighbor, because no one wants the annoying neighbor. Like, there's always the stereotype of it, and I was worried, like, oh no, what if my YouTube videos cause that? So I only make stuff here at pretty reasonable hours. I stream at 1 p.m., which is the middle of the day. It's perfect. So like everything was fine. Week in. I haven't even heard another neighbor, so I assume this place is really well isolated. And then I'm like, I haven't heard any. I sometimes hear other people shut and open their doors, but otherwise I hear nothing. And then one day, out of nowhere, I admittedly was like, I think I ran around. I ran around a little bit, did a little bit of a fun game, literally just running, and maybe some laughter too. I get like a crazy loud knock on the door, like, and I'm like, oh, Amazon. They're just, I guess Amazon's a lot more, Amazon is a lot more aggressive in the United States, but that's fine. And no, it was a downstairs neighbor being like, oh my god, like you guys, you're being too loud there, and like I was confused. Like I did my hour-long Let's Play last week, or 57 minutes or something. Not a complaint, which I was kind of happy with. And then like after nothing, like a really quiet day, I'd just gone in. I got this like loud knock on the door, and apparently, what I worked out is like, oh, running around must have been like loud thumps on the ceiling. I never really, I haven't heard a single one on my ceiling, but I guess maybe they can hear that some amount, and they're like, oh my god, I've got a baby, and it's, it was like 2:30 on a Wednesday or something, and you are, waking him up, and blah 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 blah, and it's like, oh yeah, sorry, my bad, or whatever. And again, it's confusing because the things you don't expect are I guess the worst things, and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna like tiptoe around, like literally like go over the top compensating on this one, because the idea of like inconveniencing anyone is like the worst thing in the world, right? Like no one wants to actively make just a random human's life slightly worse. But then the weirdest bit is the day after. Again, I did a stream like 5 hours earlier, like in the night. Actually, it'd be like 7 hours earlier, even. Like I did a stream way earlier in the day, where again I talk loudly. I'm like, yeah, hello, how's it going, my good friends? But then like 7 hours later, after literally nothing, there was no loud noises or anything, security was sent up, and it's like, we've been hearing some really, we've heard some loud noises that coming from the unit. It's possible that maybe my sleeping noises were too loud. I'm a loud sleeper. Maybe I was listening to How I Met Your Mother too loud, which I don't, by the way. I find it horrifying when people like blare their music or their anything else like that. And then it's like, oh no, that was just either, like they could hear something on that insane of a level, or what is more likely, because what you do, if you ever want to make noise complaints, you've got to make them repeatedly, so you have like a paper trail. They've just like decided at some point, maybe because of that stream today, maybe because of something, just like, okay, we're gonna set in motion the train of events that is like getting these people kicked out or something, and that is stressful to have a neighbor that is doing something like that. Okay, let's go craft some repeaters. I forget the recipe for the repeater every single time it comes up. It's like, oh, here it is. It's just 3 stone, a redstone, and a redstone torch. That's fine, I guess. So we're going to take some of these. We're also going to grab some bones, because I probably have a bunch of bones lying around. Okay, I've got 64 and 6. That's enough bones for me. Oh, another 64, actually. I'll take those as well. Why not? I'm going to take all these bones, and then I'm going to... I guess I'll just do it near my other farm of the same type, because you might work out what we're doing by now. Also, I've got to use this. I've got to put this nillium somewhere important, but whatever. We'll get around to that. Anyway, so my plan is I'm going to dig into the wall, kind of like I did over here. We're going to dig it out using this, so we get some stone that we can turn into other stuff we want to. And we're going to make ourselves a little bit of like a... I don't know what the word for this even is, like an auto grass mover, but we're going to use nillium, because here's the interesting thing. If you want to get these mushrooms, which I probably got enough I don't have enough fungus right now. So I need to get fungus, right? How do you get fungus real fast? Now there's a few ways that you can do this. Oh, this is where I was trapping the... I used to have a plan to like get charged creepers going, and I used to like store them inside of here. I guess I don't use that anymore, so I might as well unhollow this out. So let's just replace this with some stone, place it like that, and no one will ever know that I was in here. Perfect. Boom. It looks wonderful, right? And so now we can just we dig out one to the side over here, and we dig out one to the side over here as well. I think there's a gap in the floor. Man, it's so weird when you go through here and you see stuff that you did years ago, because I flattened this entire ground and placed grass over mostly water. So you have little caves like this sometimes where it's like, you know, let's light this up. It's been years since I've seen this thing, but it's a good idea for this to be, you know, maybe pretty well lit. Okay, so now let's stack ourselves out like I've already done once before. You know, this is the tradition on this world. We stack ourselves out of water, and then we leave the cave never to see it again. That is just how this goes. Okay, why can't I get out? But anyway, so I had like noise complaints made, and it's like, man, that is like a scary. It's not only because of the fact that, like, you know, no one wants to make someone else's life any amount worse. Like, you know, I believe that they were probably inconvenienced at some point, but also it's like, man, when you're told like, oh, here's the thing that you're doing wrong, here's how you can fix it. Like, okay, I'm going to be very careful stepping on the floor because that's their ceiling or something. That's something I can work with. When it's like, oh no, you were sleeping too loudly. You know, if it was literally my snoring, which I highly doubt it was, but like, you know, how can you work with that? You know, I think that kind of comes to something that's kind of at the heart of what we all believe on some level. Also, can you put redstone on pistons on Bedrock? I feel like you can only do it on Bedrock or Java, and I always forget which one it is. But you can probably do it on Bedrock, right? Let's find out right now. Let's grab my 14 redstone, which is definitely not enough, and let's place it over there. Come down over here, and let's see if this works. Oh, I guess I need like a button of some form or a pressure plate. We'll use a pressure plate. We shouldn't, but we will, because that's how life goes, you know. And then we're gonna, oh god, what is happening right here? So then we place that over here. We pick up that redstone, place it over there. Okay, so you can in fact do it on top of the pistons. I don't know why I feel like it's on Java maybe, or maybe it's not. Maybe I'm insane about thinking about this. But I know that redstone works differently with how redstone and pistons interact on the Java edition, and I've made some embarrassing mistakes before. Mistakes I will never forget or forgive. Or, you know, I don't know what word I was going for there, but I'm never gonna unmistake those mistakes. And isn't that the worst thing in the world? So now we grab our 2 repeaters. We're going to make the most basic redstone loop in the world. It's going to be like something like... actually, is there an easy way to do this? No, it's going to be like over there. Wait, over here. Oh, I can't place it that way without having a block in the ceiling. Or without just going behind it like this. Repeater over there. Repeater over here. Then we grab some more redstone, we make a little circuit happen, and then we're great. Except first, we need to go get that redstone. So, okay. First, we place down a shulker box. Second, we place down the second shulker box over here. And then we go grab some redstone, make this circuit happen. But anyway, so yeah, I had a thing happen, and it's terrifying to be on the other end of, you know, that kind of thing. And it makes you kind of realize something interesting, where it's like, it's so easy to, you know, like because most people, when they tell these sorts of stories, are like, I don't get it. I'm being entirely quiet, and they're really mad at me. Or like, I have neighbors that are so loud, they don't even care about their things. When in reality, I feel like what happens most of the time, again, it's like, it's a much easier story. When we tell stories, we tell stories of heroes and villains, and like, you know, you'll never tell a story where you're a villain, right? But most of the time, the issue of like noise complaints, because people, when we think of them, we're like, oh, there are just some real bad people, neighbors out there, you know, some real bad human beings that just like to ruin things, people. When in reality, the way it works is like, there are, you know, people, okay, so I don't know if that'll work, but we'll give that a try. When in reality, what it is most of the time at least is like, oh yeah, there are, okay, so then we'll place our pressure plate over here. In reality, you know, like, there are usually heroes and villains to most tales. In the real world, the way it works is like, oh yeah, this person thought they were in the right, this person thought they were in the right, and instead of talking about, oh, we definitely messed that one up. Okay, let's place a torch over there, torch over there, torch over here too, sure, why not? And then let's set these to max, and then we need to turn off the redstone signal. I think we probably messed up the circuit too, because it's gonna, you know what, maybe we haven't messed it up. Let's see if we have. Yeah, we definitely have messed up this redstone circuit. So what we're going to do is we're going to move these sideways. That should be nice and easy to do. We want to have like one output going from the thing. It's so, every now and then I'm like, yeah, this is a reminder about my redstone lack of lack of doing it too often, I guess. Okay, redstone goes that way. Redstone goes that way. This creates a problem actually, so I guess we have to go into the wall another block. Redstone goes that way. redstone goes this way. I'm definitely overcomplicating this, I know. But then we do that, and then it comes off like this, and then it goes into both those things. Easy. So place those to the max. We go on, and then we go off. Maybe I think actually just a single press of this is just too long. I think we need to have a more precise pressing mechanism. So like, let's just grab a button or something like that, or a lever. There we go. Because you can flick that on, flick that off. Oh, but I did that wrong. You know, at what point? How many times do you have to fail before you have to admit that it's you that's the problem? See, right, that time too. I don't know what I was even thinking. There we go. Now we got a system where two things go like this. There should actually be a little bit delay on one of the systems. They shouldn't both happen at the exact same time as is happening right now. So I think I need a third repeater to just add a tiny delay right there, because you want it to move back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Whereas right now they're just moving simultaneously together. Although actually maybe that works anyway. Let's see. Let's just for the fun of it, let's test this out right now. Let's grab our warped millennium. And let's place like one there, one there, one there, and then one there. Oh god, what? There we go, look at that. So yeah, we definitely need to fix it because it's only moving sometimes, not always. It's very weird to look at actually. But anyway, now the thing that we can do using our bones, you probably guessed it, we can now bone mill these blocks, and then they get broken, then we can bone mill them again, and they break them, and so on and so forth. And it's an easy way to get these warped roots, but way more importantly than that, we want the warped milling. And also, again, we're going to fix this in a minute, but first, let's make the ceiling higher so we can actually climb over all of this. And then let's place all of the native blocks down, and then let's get the repeater, and let's fix all of this up. But the interesting part of this whole tale that involves, you know, like noisy neighbors, wow, now I've been on both ends. Now I'm apparently the noisy end without even realizing it, is because, like, you know, if someone had told me, like, oh yeah, we've got this new security service that's going to be, like, entirely free for you, and you can just anonymously call, and we can go tell your neighbors they're being too loud, I'd be like, heck yeah, now I can finally tell them without having to confront them, because it's not bad enough that I want to confront them for. I try not to be too confrontational, so like, yeah, you know, like, in my general life, maybe I should try better. It's actually something I'm trying, you know, to be better with, like, in general. Like, I think most people prefer when you tell them about something than when you don't. But it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, I would have preferred a system where like, oh yeah, that's just what we'll do is we'll deal with it all for you. We'll okay, let's see if this works now, by the way. Hey, look at that. It does vaguely. It looks kind of strange, but we got it going, and that's the important thing. But you know, like, I would have been like, heck yeah, I'm on board with that. Like, give me the system where I can just anonymously tell you know, them and get them in some trouble or whatever. Huh, okay, that's very strange. It's working. Oh, it's not actually moving them all the time. It's just because this isn't retracted by the time this one's done. Maybe this needs an extra, like, delay on it. There we go, we got that. I think that's functionally working every time, right? There we go, boom. But you know, I might have loved the system like that. But then also, how did I get red? How did I get the red crimson mushroom on there? Is that a bug, or is that like, was it moving at the time? Because it probably shouldn't have spawned there, right? Anyway, but yeah, there's something a bit off about how I've set this one up. I wonder what went so wrong here. But anyway, so it's a system that it's a system you love in the theory when you're on the one side of it, like, oh, what if we could take the onus off me and put it onto someone else? But then when, you know, it happens to you, where it's like, you know, you can't ask when it's an anonymous tip and security has to come to your door. Which, by the way, the fact that there isn't security here is something I find interesting. Like, this is like a gated unit, which is a concept we don't have too much of in the UK. And it's like, oh yeah, they make sure who goes in and out. And they apparently also enforce noise complaints, which again, I love in theory. I love the idea that people aren't having large parties. You know, my personal preference is like, yeah, I don't be, you know, playing loud music with a large gathering of people that are loud, unless it's like a big occasion, like either New Year's or like it's your birthday or something. Those are entirely forgivable. Every other time, that's when it's more questionable than that. Yeah, we got it again, by the way. Huh. I wonder if that's intentional behavior, because you only usually see it in a Crimson Forest biome. Maybe it's something about the overworld, or maybe it is a really weird bug. I don't care, but it means I don't have to make two of these machines, because I'm going to get enough Crimson mushrooms from this one. So that's nice, right? If nothing else, we have that going for us. But yeah, anyway, But the thing about every system, like we're very good at designing systems as humanity. That's something, that's like what we ultimately are doing. The things that last longer than me and you are the systems. You know, I mentioned like, oh yeah, you know the Queen. She's just a person, you know, like, or the monarchy, they're just a set of people that have convinced you that family is a really important thing, and then that their family is the most important family. That's how the royals work, and then that is the system of governance. Even though they've lost their powers de facto, you know, their actual powers over the last few years, they still have a lot of soft power both around the world, but also, like, you know, there is a weekly meeting between the Prime Minister in the UK and the Queen. That's insane. That, like, no one else gets that level of consultants, you know, on issues and stuff like that. It's fascinating to me. It's very very interesting. But also, alongside that being really interesting, we're gonna have a lot of warped routes by the end of this, and I have no idea what to do with all those warped routes, but I guess we've got them anyway. So yeah, it's super interesting that, like, and to me at least, it's very interesting that we, like, create these systems, and you know, like, and those are the things that really last. But one of the things that we're always thinking about systems is, like, our exact situations right now, and one of the things we don't think about is, like, oh yeah, those things are entirely likely to change. Anything that can be used for you can be used kind of against you. And it's something we really get stuck on the weeds on, because the easiest way to convince someone of something is be like, this will benefit you right now, right? There is an immediate benefit to you, you know, like, have noisy neighbors, we can get rid of them. Or, you know, like, that's a good system. Like, to me, I don't want to be a noisy neighbor. I want that to be fixed. I would love to have a conversation about, hey, what's the issue? What times can we do it? You know, if it is something like recording videos, tell me what times we, you know, like, let's have a conversation about this. But instead, you know, the modern world, a lot of the times, like, you're pushed towards, you know, like, oh yeah, by not being confrontational, you're really being extra confrontational. You know, there's many other examples of, like, systems where we think about how they can be used for us, not against us a lot. Like, one of the things I'm glad people are talking about is, like, oh yeah, you know, the police be scary, right? There are this group of people that just have absolute authority. They don't need to even understand, you know, the laws that they are enforcing. They just need to say, oh yeah, this is how it be. Oh, maybe it grew on the Netherrack, because there's some Netherrack that's spawned there now. Although that's probably just because it stopped being Nillium after the tree grew on it. Why did the tree even grow on it? You know, I've got a lot of questions. I don't think they'll ever be answered. But all I know is I've got myself all the mushrooms I need, and I've got myself some bone meal that I guess I also need. And yeah, let's throw all that away. And let's start now taking these fungi, you know, because that's what they are. They're fun guys. And let's take some Crimson Nillium. Actually, let's take more Crimson Nillium. Let's take, like, a stack of this with us. And now, okay, let's put this in there too. Oh, we've got such an inventory management task to after this. And now let's go make the Enchanted Valley. I made a cool bit of redstone. Do you like it? Wait, do you wanna see it one last time? Wow, it's cool, isn't it? It's actually an exact duplicate of the one I made with grass. I know 99% of you probably got that, but just in case you didn't, you can do the same thing with grass. Oh look, I even exactly the same mechanism. You can do the exact same thing with grass if you want to, as a way of getting flowers, and white flowers in particular, and as well as yellow ones. So that's how I get myself a bunch of yellow dye. It's a fun little system. Anyway, so leaving those things to the side, let's go to the little Enchanted Valley. And let's mention that, like, one of the things people don't think about a lot is how something works both ways against you. You know, like, for instance, you know, if you're going to have a system where it's like, oh yes, everyone, you know, like, something really dumb. Like, one of the first things I found insane when I was a child is, like, oh yeah, you could be. I don't know if this was ever even a real law, if it was proposed. I just remember, like, questioning, like, my grandparents I was watching with, like, oh yeah, if you drop a packet of crisps, you could be fine, or chips, as we call them in America, where I now am. You drop a packet of crisps, you could be fined £1,000 in new measures. And it's like, you know, my reaction is like, isn't that, like, really disproportionate? And the response is always like, oh yeah, but, like, just don't do it then. But then the answer is kind of more like, but, you know, like, but if you do it, isn't that kind of, you know, a bit absurd? Isn't that like a punishment not fitting a crime in the slightest? And it's like, well, you know, but it's a crime that people shouldn't be doing. And it's kind of interesting because that kind of, it's the same kind of logic when you really think about it, that, like, yeah, it's really great when there are fewer packets of crisps, but then one day you make a mistake, or one day you're like, oh, I literally have to do this. You know, we as humans have very malleable logic systems. Let's grow a giant blue mushroom over here. Okay, there is not enough space for that without removing this torch, which is going to cause problems. So I guess we'll just work around it a little bit, just like this. There we go. Real nice stuff. And then over, like, here, we'll fill this all in later. Over here we place the blue mushroom. Oh, it's too close to this now. Over here we place the blue mushroom, and then that should work, right? Okay, you know, I just don't know. Maybe it has to grow on its own color, actually. Maybe that's my genuine mistake here. So let's grow a crimson fungi here instead. Just place one of those down, as well as one over there. Why not? So we can block it up later. And let's go ahead and... oh, God, I lost the bone meal. There it is. Let's try this again. Hey, okay, so I think it was the color thing. So now we've got some little glowberries, some shroom lights mixed in. And I want to have, like, just a few of those mixed in the group, too. Like, I felt for a while that there are too many brown mushrooms at the start here. It'd be cool if we had, just in the middle here, a nice little blue warped forest thing, right? So let's grab a warped nilium. Again, we can fix the details later of, like, having more blocks around or whatever. But let's place it down and let's do this. Oh, isn't this valley starting to look beautiful? I think you'll find it is. So yeah, every time when we make systems, those systems will always work for you and against you. But it's always it's important to know that as humans, even though we have like a fixed set of like possible behaviors, or like usual behaviors, we have a pretty unlimited set of potential behaviors. And if there are people doing a thing, we like to be like, oh, well, those people are just, you know, like, anyone who would drop a packet of crisps on the ground is just a lowlife. Just any single person, if they do that, that becomes the worst thing they've ever done. And it's like, well, in reality, you know, there might be some reasons for it. In reality, if someone is sleeping loudly, maybe that's just how they sleep. Maybe, and I feel like when we have like super hardened set systems, right? When we create a system that is meant for enforcement, then it can be used in some really unsavory ways. Like, again, people in America are having a big debate about like, oh yeah, we just have this group of people that we give unlimited power effectively, you know, in the moment at least. Like, if you want to fix the power of something police, you gotta do it later. But also, we've had that exact same system in place for a trillion other things forever. Like, to name an example, like, you know, the tax system, everyone goes wild when it's like, oh, don't you know that current U.S. administration, you know, it basically raised taxes in the high tax states, call it the blue states if you want to be real political, and then used it to fund the military. Like they raised tax, you know, and they did it by reducing deductions from state tax to federal tax effectively. So like by raising taxes in specific places, by making a targeted tax measure, and then using that money to fund the military. Something those people wouldn't have liked, and it's like, isn't it interesting that there is this power that exists with pretty much no oversight that like, oh yeah, if they want to just, you know, raise, you know, like take money from you and use it to fund things you don't want, you know, force you to do things you don't want to do, yeah, spend money on things that you don't want to, that's just A-okay. And it's like, oh yeah, well that's the system that is in place. And it sounds really good when you're the one, you know, like, having like one all-powerful entity sounds really good when you think that you're in charge of that all-powerful entity. But if you're going to have an all-powerful entity, you need to think, what if tyrannical people get in charge of it? What if people who mean the worst get in charge of it? And then you know, you've got to build the system around that, right? Rather than hoping, you know, praying, believing that you'll have a system where it will only be the best of people who you know, can take advantage of a thing, rather than, you know, like, naively, I would say, assuming that is a thing. It's always better to instead be more aware of like, oh yeah, actually, you know, this can go both ways. But, you know, we need to have a certain amount, and like using restraint. If you're going to make hard and fast rules and systems that will outlive people, because again, even if your favorite person is in charge of a thing right now, they won't be forever. The nature of humans is that we tend to live and die. You know, like the current monarch, Queen Elizabeth, she's been in power for she's 94, I think I looked up recently, and she's been in power for like 70 something of those years, the longest of any monarch that's ever been in the UK. And it's like, oh yeah, well, you know, we really like her. But what happens if someone, yeah, and in reality it's like a family-based thing and they're all like trained deliberately for this moment. But like, what happens when it's someone bad that gets in there? What about the premise? What about this? What about if there's a police person who is super, you know, what if you have a police person that is really against you? They hate you in particular. What can they do to you? You know, like, let's say it's, because apparently it's a stereotype in America that like, oh yeah, something police are people that like, you know, like high school bullies that don't go anywhere in life or whatever. What if your high school bully, you know, becomes a police officer? How much power should they have over you? What if you know, and I think we don't ask these questions enough. I think it's one of the more worrying kind of things about, like, oh yeah, if you're going to have a form of absolute authority. Also, why is this... the system for how these do or don't work is very confusing to me at best, and beyond opaque at worst, but that's fine. It's all good. I got plenty of bone meal. There we go. That's a ridiculously ugly plant. I don't think I've ever seen anything this ugly, but that's fine. Now let's have a few more blues to kind of mix in here, so throw that out. Okay, we've got a real inventory gridlock right here. I mean, I always have inventory gridlock. It's just how things go with me, right? And then we'll place near the entrance, just over here, just another blue one, just like that. Boom, place it down. Boom, just like that. Yeah, and then one more blue. So we've got 3 reds, 3 blues kind of mixed in there. And then if I like it, we can add more. If it looks kind of saturated already, because they're much bigger. So I think we need fewer of these than we need of other things. But yeah, I just kind of think that it's a really interesting debate that we tend to miss. That is not like, how are things right now, but how should things be for the future? We talk about the word sustainability all the time, and I think that's one of the cool concepts that, like, you know, even though it's like it sometimes gets very warped, and people use it to mean very warped things. My joke is lost on all of you. Haha. No, we can use it to mean a whole host of different, sometimes warped meanings. The interesting thing about, okay, so we're gonna have just a bunch of nilium, kind of filling in the gaps here. Place a torch on top of here, because of course, and yeah, it's we have like a very warped discussion. So I'm just gonna keep making that joke. It's too high quality. You need to appreciate it. Please laugh at my humor. But no, we tend to have this very warped view on what it kind of means. Like, oh yeah, it means all about materials and recycling and the earth and stuff. When in reality, one of the kind of prerequisites, if you want to have any discussion about you know, laws or you know, taxes or systems or like even materials, are like, but how is that going to last? How are you going to ensure that this is the thing, even once this is gone? Also, we ran out of the warp stuff. So this is what it now looks like. Let's go fly out of here. I've got 12 minutes to go do this bad omen. You know, I've been putting it off because every episode of the Let's Play has to have a raid fight, and I didn't want to do it, but we kind of have to. Yeah, I feel like it's unevenly distributed. Like, it feels like there should be one over there. I guess it should be a red tree too, because there's 2 blue near each other. I feel like this is a bad angle for it. Let's kind of look at it from down here. Yeah, I think they make a good addition. I think they're a bit too tall. Like, I think that is the height I prefer. These ones are just giant and kind of ugly. Like, those 2 are good. This one's kind of too tall. This one's too tall. It might be worth chopping them down and making them taller. But for now, at least we made the area more interesting. And that is half the battle, if you ask me at least. So yeah, now let's go fight a pillager raid as we kind of finish off for the day. And let's go to the village that I like to fight my raids at by going through my new Nether pathway that takes me past this salt sand farm we built a while ago. Let's go through this because we finally got that fixed. I know it was like a month ago for you, but like for me too actually. But like in terms of since I was last playing, it's been like only a few days of play since I last built this, and it's so convenient compared to the old system of having to fly so far. So let's fight a pillager raid, and let's just give you an update as to the lighter things in my life that aren't like me being terrified of like, I don't know, eviction, of like just having, I don't know, just, and again, I'm terrified of the idea of like upsetting someone but having no idea how to fix it. Like, maybe this is like a particular thing. Maybe this is like a very human issue. Maybe most people just don't care, and that's where I need to be. Like in the category of like, you know, I'll care when they force me to care. I'm not sure where my opinion should be on this one, or you know what it's meant to be in the normal sense of the word. But yeah, besides that, things have been really good actually. Again, yeah, that's part of the reason I'm so terrified about all the potential what is happening here kind of deals, because I've been really enjoying the Nevada thing so far. It's kind of crazy because It's only just ended what was literally a national weather warning or something. Like, it was so hot, it was genuinely a problem. Like, it was, if you know UK degrees, 47 one day, which is an insane temperature. I think in Fahrenheit it's like 120. You know, convert it yourself. Learn the Celsius system if you don't already, because every other country uses it. And it's much better for most things. The only argument I've ever heard in favor of Fahrenheit is like, well, it's better for measuring the weather because the weather in Celsius only goes from about 0 to 40 degrees, but in Fahrenheit it goes from 0 to 100. Ignoring the fact that one, it was just 120 degrees where I was, and two, like, having a more precise system doesn't exist in that sense because first of all, everyone knows 0 and 100 are like freezing and boiling. Knowing when it goes below freezing outside is actually, it's an important part of the system, in my opinion. And two, there's the fact that, like, you can do point degrees in Celsius. The reason we don't do point degrees is because they're not, we don't need them. No one thinks the difference between 32 and 33 is, like, really important. Like, at 32 and a half, I think I'd go outside, but not at 33. I wish we had a system that, no one thinks that, It's crazy because it's interesting to me, like, no, because, I'm sure, like, honestly, if you look at Celsius and Fahrenheit in a vacuum, they're both equally nonsensical systems. Like, the reason you're like one over the other is because you were born thinking that way. If I was born, again, I know the system of Celsius, so it's like obviously the one I know better. But it's like, anyway, my point is, in the good degrees, it was 47. In the bad degrees, it was 120. And which one's which only depends on where you're born and which one you're used to. So it's okay if you think the wrong set system, because don't we all really think the wrong system in some way? But anyway, so it got super hot here, and one of the things that's interesting about that is, like, because I was in Turkey where it was just consistently 30 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, like 64 barrels of fish. I don't know, but like that sounds like an imperial measurement. But so it's been. Did I just kill 2 waves and that was the thing over? Huh. That wasn't what I expected. I guess I must be on easy. Oh, I'm on a realm, so I guess the realm has a different difficulty to my normal world. Huh. I thought we'd be a normal. Usually I put the game up to hard for pillager raids, but that was just disappointing. That was just like, huh. I guess we're done there now. And speaking of, I guess we're done down here now. There's some exciting things that I can now do because the weather's now livable here. Like previously I'd been like a bit terrified of like, ooh, I don't know if I want to go outside if XYZ is the case. But now we can be like, it's gonna be fine. Also, it's only two emeralds for me to get some cookies. What a great deal, am I right? I should probably start selling some pumpkins actually. Let's go sell some pumpkins to your main boys. Do I even have a bunch of pumpkins farm? I don't think I do. I think I have this mega melon farm, but I don't have like a pumpkin farm to back it up. Maybe that's what we should do some evening. Yeah, I clearly started a pumpkin farm here, and it clearly didn't go very well. So let's make a pumpkin farm. I know I should have an automated one, but you can automate whatever you want in life, and a pumpkin farm is one of those things. But you can also not automate those things. Anyway, so just one last fact to leave you with, because I guess I'm interested by dumb trivia that affects no one, in Nevada, it's literally a desert here, right? I'm staying in a desert. The humidity is always super low, which I do actually think keeps you a lot cooler. Like, high humidity countries feel so much hotter than low humidity countries. That is just a fact of the universe. Like, I think it adds another 5, maybe 10 degrees, because you can sustain yourself in a lower humidity place for longer than you can in a high humidity one, because you can sweat it off or something like that. Anyway, I want to mention, like, in my experience, that is true. The humidity on the weather does actually matter, even though I'm annoyed because, like, people who claim it does are always like, it's actually high humidity, so it's kind of a different. It's like, no, shut up. Even though I agree with you, I hate your opinion and I don't stand for it. But yeah, so the interesting thing is that, like, I was like, it's literally a desert here. It never rains. But, like, when is never rains? Because it clearly rains sometimes. There's no one Earth where it doesn't rain. And, because, fun fact, by the way, Antarctica's a desert. There you go. There's your fun fact of the day. But, so because it's a desert or whatever, it rains. It rains 25 days a year. Actually, that's not because it's a desert. That's just an unrelated fun fact. It rains 25 days a year, and that sounds like very few. But when you realise that the UK, you know, London, a city famous for it's always raining there, right? It rains 105 days a year, like 100 days. Let's just call it simply. So it rains a quarter of the time here as it does there, and that difference is enough to make it like a desert, enough to make it like a place where it never rains versus London, a place where it always rains. And I find that to be such an interesting distinction, right? That like such a small gap, literally a difference of 4, can make the difference between always and never. Because, you know, no one actually ever thinks it's always raining in London. It just rains a lot. We have umbrellas a lot more because we're more used to it. Whereas here, it gets hot a lot more. So AC is mandatory inside, I believe. You know, should we buy some cakes or some glistening melons? I don't think we should. I think we should say thank you for watching. I wish we had more time to speak. I feel like I got really caught up on that. You know, I always feel like when you're talking about something you're super emotionally invested in, you're always going to talk about it in a much less useful way for sharing that message with others. Like, I was just trying to make some point about, like, oh, yeah, I am a bad neighbor without knowing how, and that sucks, and we don't talk about things enough is a real problem that is impossible to address if you don't. Yeah, that kind of thing, like, spiraled into, like, a whole discussion about a bunch of other things, and I feel like when you're like super emotionally invested in an issue, when you're super emotionally affected by an issue, I feel like you tend to speak about it in much less useful terms. And if I did that today, my apologies. I should buy some golden carrots at some point. Like, I've got a bunch of emeralds anyway. I'm not really using them for anything anymore, now that I've got my netherite stuff. I haven't done a mega project in a while. Maybe I should just buy golden carrots. Maybe I'm worth it, you know? Honestly, I think I should treat myself to some golden carrots. What do you think? Comments? Let me know. I was about to call you chat, but I need to train myself out the live stream verbiage. I'm only gonna be streaming, like, I've still got a whole setup to work out. Like, I've got a new capture card I'm gonna figure out today. It's gonna be a whole fun thing. But I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Like it if you did. Except, you know what? It's YouTube. You can do whatever you want. And I can't stop you, and that's okay, because if I forced you to press the like button, then I'd be forced to press the like button on videos I didn't like. Which is why it's good that you choose to do that, and I can just remind you that subscribing is the way to see more of these videos hit on your homepage. Except, let's be honest, you made it this far through a Minecraft Let's Play, you're probably already subscribed. If you're not, then, you know, that's an impressive feat by itself. But you know what isn't an impressive feat? The things at the bottom of my legs. Okay, thank you for watching, because I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.